In this video, I'm going to talk about getting unstuck and how to identify a made-up problem from an actual problem. And that concept of being stuck is a very common thing that people deal with in different ways throughout their lives. Most of the time when I'm seeing people one-on-one, they're looking for clarity, and they're looking to get unstuck from their problems. So, let's just start off with what it means to actually deal with an actual problem. And how do we know it's an actual problem as opposed to one that our mind has created? It's pretty simple. Like if you have an actual issue, you're going to address it. If there's a fire in your house, if there's something wrong with your kids, if there's an emergency at work or something like that, I'm just making it up. You're going to address it. You don't need to plan for it. You don't need to think about it. You don't need to ruminate about it. You'll know, and you'll do what you need to do to address that issue. Most of the things that we say are problems, we are actually creating in our mind because the mind needs issues to get energy. And if you're not familiar with what that means, basically our analytical mind is a problem-solving machine. And so, it needs problems to solve. And it will create issues in our mind in a way so that we are giving our analytical mind energy. Okay? And so for most people, totally subconscious, they don't even realize what's going on. But this overthinking gets them in a place where they have a experience or sensation like, I feel stuck, I don't know what to do, I don't know what I want. And when we're in that place, and basically it's like this, it's like you're getting to a point in your mind where you're like trying to solve the problem from a place that you actually created it, right? And so again, it's kind of like with what I said earlier about the actual problem. Like when you just express, or you're just living life, or you're just reacting, you're not thinking and you're not over analyzing. So there is no like friction or resistance there. There's no stuck point, right? So one thing that we want to be able to do is identify how valid and real the things are in our mind that we are considering problems, okay? And typically when we actually open up and share these things, if we're around people that we trust, you know what I mean, like people that care about us, obviously, we're going to get reassurance, right? People are going to be like, it's not what you think, or don't be so hard on yourself, or something like that. And also, by just talking through things, we're getting out of our heads, and we're no longer in the space of over-analyzing, overthinking that's creating that same problem. So when you get up in the morning, I don't know if you've noticed this. This doesn't happen every time for me either, but there's a space. It's like a few seconds, maybe like, I don't know, 15, 30 seconds where you're not quite awake yet, but you're conscious, right? And everything in that space is very peaceful and serene, right? And then our mind comes online, and that's when we start to think. What do I have to do today? What are the things I have to accomplish, take on, solve, whatever. Or, it could be past-based too. It could be, things you were thinking about in your mind from the previous day, or even further past than that. So our thinking and one of the things that I'm trying to kind of get to here is like, our thinking it's not us. And as long as we think that it is us, like we're gonna have problems, okay? Because we're gonna over-identify with our thoughts. We're going to assume that all those thoughts are true. We're not gonna question those thoughts, right? And then we're gonna end up in a place that eventually we're gonna feel stuck, okay? Because our mind can only take us so far. So, if we play this out too in like a longer period of time, like what would that look like? Um, let's say, like for most people, um, I'm using my analytical mind to do what I do best, you know, go to school, get a job, succeed. Um, and we might get to a place where, all those things are happening. You got a family, you're stable, you've got, um, you're not having any type of monetary issues or, nothing major. And your mind is still going to create issues and challenges to solve and try to break through, right? So a lot of people, especially in that midlife range, men but also women too, they get to a place where they feel stuck. And when you feel stuck, your mind is going to go to a place of trying to solve that problem, but there actually isn't an actual issue, right? It's a place where we get to in our minds, where we might like, we can only achieve so much. You can only gain so much. We can only, um, break through things and accomplish so much. And so, like in a long-term way, that overactive mind or analytical mind will start to create problems, right? Or, for example, too, if you have kids and you might overattach your kids' issues and worry about those things, right? And so we are like, if you're especially if you're analytical, but just any adult who's got a regular level of acumen and intelligence, like you're going to get into places where your mind is going to create issues for you. And so what we find is that the more that we're able to identify those issues, at least in our head, not we have to agree with them, but and express them. We talk to like our spouse or a friend or a coach or whoever. We start to be able to see things for what they are instead of just living in our heads, right? And another thing that we can do with that too is we can start to, if you want to get into self-growth or other challenges, and start to like look at your thinking and your thinking mind as opposed to just like letting it lead you, right? So if I'm separate from my thinking, then what am I? And that leads you down a very spiritual path, and it can bring up other questions and other things to contemplate as well. But the thing is like we're not meant to be stuck in life, and when we get in these places, it's like we've run out of like road to travel, so to speak. Like I do my routine, I do the thing, I do what I'm asked to do. I'm a dad, I go to work, I check all the boxes, right? And that's fine, but the more that we live in our head, the more that we're going to see that there's issues that our mind is actually creating, right? And so obviously, most people are going to say like, hey, I want to be in the present moment. I want to be more peaceful. I want to be more connected, and all those things that people talk about. And we have to first start with just looking at our thinking and looking at where we're probably creating more of an issue than we need to. Okay, and again, if it's an actual issue or problem, like you're going to address it. And if it's something where let's do some, if we talk about something maybe in between where I have a physical health concern, like I want to take better care of my body. I mean, that could be a future issue, but in the present moment, it's more of a challenge or something that you might want to look at undertaking as a, I don't know, kind of like a self, growth project in so many ways. So like, it doesn't have to be this gnawing issue. right? Life is full of things that challenge us. And that's probably the term I'm coming to. I mean, a lot of these things are just, they're challenges when it comes down to it. At the very, at the most of them are just, they're just life challenges. They're not there to, break us down, keep us stuck, make us depressed, or any of those things. But, we got to be honest about what we're thinking. We got to be honest about what we're feeling, and we got to deal with those things in a way that serves us instead of staying in our head. So I just want to share that today because that's a topic that comes up so much for almost anybody that I've worked with, and I would imagine it's just one of those things where if you ask anybody, like, you're going to find some common ground with them. And so there's nothing wrong with you. There's nothing wrong with that. It's just that when we live mostly in our head, we're probably going to be less satisfied and less happy overall. So I hope you found that helpful, and I'll talk to you soon.